Hi, I'm Joe, a stand-up comedian, a real estate broker, and a mortgage broker.
And I'm Marguerite, a real estate agent, aspiring author, and recovering control freak. And this is Crespillo Talk.
We promise to have some fun as we talk about what it takes to stay married, raise our 6 kids, and now 7 grandchildren in our blended family, all while trying to stay out of the loony bin.
A podcast about what it takes to make love last, despite all the odds. Not only will you hear about our personal journey, but listen in as we interview different couples at all stages of their relationship. We hope you will get some ideas of what not to do, but more importantly, what to do to make your relationship the best it can be. We love your comments and feedback and would love for you to share with your friends on social media.
So light some candles, pour your favorite beverage, and join us on today's episode of Crespillo Talk.
Hello, everybody.
Howdy.
I'm Marguerite Crespillo,
I'm Joseph Mark Crespillo,
Senior,
Senior.
because we now have
I
3.
always forget that.
Yeah, and welcome to our very first episode of Crespillo Talk.
Crespillo Talk.
There you go.
Got to separate that crest and pillow.
Right.
Except when you say our name, then it's Crespillo.
We get a lot of questions about that. How do you actually say it? Is it Crespillo? Is it
That
Crespillo?
works. Crespillo.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I can't say it that way.
Crespillo.
So you have to be actually Spanish or have a Spanish accent to be able to say it that way. So, anyway, welcome to our very first episode of Crespillo Talk. Cheers.
Welcome. Cheers.
There you go.
Salute.
There you go. And so we'll put our little cocktails down.
Oh, we are.
Maybe not. So this is our first episode. We decided to start a podcast because, it started out because I used to have I still have a podcast called Real Estate Real World.
Mhm.
We are in the real estate industry and have been for a long time. But more importantly, we have been together for 33 years. We will have been
Almost next month,
married.
33.
We will have been married 28 years next
in
month.
May.
Took them a little while to
May
marry
4th.
me. Yeah, May 4th is our wedding
Took her
anniversary.
a little while to say yes.
And, we've had a lot of friends over the years that have struggled in their relationships, as have we. And we've talked about a lot of different things and helped a lot of different people. And we thought, well, if we could tell our story that might be able to help other people somewhere around this world
I think so.
get through their parts of their relationship, right? Because we all know that divorce has a high rate. 50% of the people out there get divorced. And our hope is that we can help somebody avoid that destiny, so to speak, right?
I think the problem is that marriage has a high rate of divorce.
Oh, is that it? Did I have
You
it
have to-
backwards?
you have to be married first to get divorced.
Oh, there you go. So see,
But
funny
we
how
have a
this
little
stuff works out.
secret that we use. What is that secret?
Well,
You
it's
came
called,
up with it.
It's called The 100 Things I Love About You. And it's
Oh,
the story of my book, right? It's the
Yeah.
title of my book. And I've been working on this book for a while. And the hope is that we'll be able to get it finished. Well, I'm going to get it finished this year in June. We'll get it finished. Been working on it for a while. And it's really the story of how we survived, how we made our relationship work, despite all the odds. The odds really were against us. So we'll back up a little bit and talk about how we met. I was 22, young. And,
I was 33,
mhm,
younger.
and had been separated from his first wife, which didn't work out. And we met, we met through a mutual friend in a bar, good old fashioned way, right? Not like how everyone meets on the internet now.
Yeah.
But
But when I saw her, I swiped left.
well, they didn't have computers back then.
Oh, yeah.
That's right. And we met and we hit it off right away. Neither one of us were looking to have a relationship. We both just ended long-term relationships and we thought, well, we're just gonna have some fun together. So we ended up having a lot of fun.
I guess we have to say that I was on the date when I met her. I took the date home and came back to the bar because I knew she'd still be there. She had the most beautiful, she still does, most beautiful green eyes.
Oh, thank you.
And
Thank you.
I mean, look at that face. It's just beautiful. And I had to take my date home and come back. And
One
meet
of the
her.
many reasons why we're still together. But the truth is, we ended up having a lot of fun. We went through a lot of definite trials and tribulations, and we finally decided to get married in 1991. And he had 3 children from his first wife, so I instantly became a stepmom at a very young age. And he had 3 children at the time. They were 1, 4, and 8 years old. So
Uh-huh.
Jessica is the oldest, Joey is the middle, his oldest son, and Philip is the youngest. So took on 3 kids. So we instantly became a family, and I became a very young mom, stepmom, and they call me their bonus mom, and of 3 kids. And then we got married, had 3 more children of our own, Jordan, Jacob, and John.
Yeah.
And
they drive
who
us nuts too.
and having been together now 33 years, all of our children are grown. Our youngest is 22 and our oldest is 42.
Yeah.
And sadly, we lost our middle son, our oldest son, Jordan, when he was 10 years old, of a genetic disease called adrenoleukodystrophy. And he was sick for quite some time and died when he was 10 years old. And I have to tell you that most marriages don't survive the death of a child. They don't survive things that are even less than that, but they definitely don't survive the death of a child. And I think the biggest challenge with that is that you grieve differently, right? And in looking back, the way that we grieved was very different. Joe had a tendency to just not want to talk about it, right?
Not want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about anything, actually. Basically, I try to just avoid all that stuff. But I stayed home a lot. Luckily, at the time, we were going through that. The company I was working for laid 5,000 people off, and I was one of those 5,000. So I got to stay home more. I went back into retail, hustling loans for a local broker, and Marguerite worked harder. Right. She let work take over her basically and worked very hard.
Yeah, so my way of grieving was I just went to work. And it was easier many times to go to work than it was to deal with the emotions and deal with the stress of all of that going on. And on top of that, we had 2 young kids. When Jordan died at 10 years old, our boys, Jacob and John, were 2.5 and almost 4.
Yeah.
So we had 2 young kids, had just lost a child. He had just lost his job. And the combination of all those stressors, really, it was a lot. And it got to a point where we really started to go our separate ways. And things were changing. We were not connecting. We were not spending as much time together. We definitely were not talking. We were not sorting things out. And we got to a point where one day I said, guess what? Today is the day. I don't want this type of life anymore. I don't want our relationship to continue to be this way. And I woke up and I said, today's the day. You need to either make an appointment with an attorney or a counselor. But by the end of the day, one of those things needs to happen.
And being a man, I was oblivious to what was going on, basically. I mean, I knew we were going through some things, but I was oblivious to the fact that our marriage was in trouble too. I thought our marriage was fine. But again, I didn't talk about it. Put it on the back burner.
Well, luckily we ended up with a good counselor, and we went to the first therapy session, and they have you come together and they're like, why are you here? And your response was?
You're not going to get mad again, are you? Like the day I said it? My response was because she made me.
Right, which was not the answer I was looking for, right? And for any of you women out there who've been in the same situation, you completely get what we're talking about.
And you men understand why I said she made me, right?
Right. And so that didn't go over very well, as I'm sure you can imagine. And so the second session, we go back and he wants to talk about our family background. And my personal background is I was raised by a single mom. My father also died at a young age. He died when I was 10 years old. But my parents had split up prior to that. And my mom was married several times after that and has since also passed away. And so being raised in that environment, I never really saw any strong relationship role models or had any real strong male models in my life. And so frankly, I just didn't think that marriage was probably for me, or if it was, I did not think it would last. And so I wasn't quite as committed as Joe, who his family background was a little different.
Yeah, my parents came from Spain, the old country. The vows say you you're in it for life till death do us part. And my father died at the age of 73 after 44 years of marriage with my mom. They had 7 children. Uh, we're not going to have any more children.
We're not keeping up.
15 years later, I was born. My mom was 45. My dad was 55. It was like being raised by grandparents. I mean, there was a lot of love in the house. The only difference is they couldn't give me back to my mom and dad because they were my mom and dad. And we'd go visit friends every weekend, either Spanish friends, relatives, someone like that. And like I said, the old country, it's kiss, kiss, hug, hug. There's just love everywhere. So that's the way I was raised, and that what attracted me to Marguerite, besides her beautiful green eyes, was the fact that she was like my mom. My mom was a very strong woman. My mom left the 6th grade to take care of the family so her mom and dad could work the fields in Hawaii. And my mom basically ran the house. She was very strong. And Marguerite is a very strong woman. And
Yeah, and so, coming from such diverse backgrounds, also created its own set of challenges, right?
yeah.
So we go back to our third meeting with the counselor, and he says, well, it looks like, Marguerite, you've kind of made your decision. And so he goes, I'm going to give you a suggestion as one kind of last ditch effort. He goes, I encourage you to go home and make a list of the things that you love about him.
And the third meeting was separate.
It was.
We weren't together because my third meeting was a little different.
Yeah, and he said, I encourage you to try to get to 100 on the list. And I said, I've done the pros and cons list, and the cons kind of outweigh the pros right now, and I don't think I need to do that. And he goes, I encourage you to just try. Don't worry about the cons. You got that part down. Why don't you just focus on the things that you love about him? So how was your meeting? I don't know that I really ever asked.
What was nothing at the time. She didn't love anything about me at the time. Well, my meeting basically was I needed to figure out why I was so oblivious to what was going on. I mean, I had no problems with Marguerite. I loved her to death. And there were times when I didn't like her, but I always loved her. And so I didn't have to do the 100 things I love about Marguerite. I had to basically work on myself and not let something like this happen again, get to the point where it was. And I never learned that either.
So anyway, still in progress, right? We're a work in progress.
We're definitely a work in progress.
So I went home, and it took me a few days. As he mentioned, I didn't like him at all right then. There was nothing that I could think of that I wanted or I could put on that list. So after a few days, I started to really pay attention, and I started noticing little things like he really is a great dad. He's funny. As a matter of fact, he's a stand-up comedian, so he does like to entertain quite a bit. He's always the life of the party. And he would make me tea every morning and put it by my bed, and always very complimentary and always had kind things to say. But it took me some time. I did only make it to 45 on the list. But that year for anniversary, I gave him that list to show him the things that I loved about him. And I do have to say that was a key turning point in our relationship.
Yeah.
And truth be told, he didn't change anything, like he just said. He did start to pay a little bit more attention and started to focus on some things. But at the end of the day, what happened for me is my focus shifted from all the things he did wrong to all the things that he did right. And it really helped me to see all the reasons why I had fallen in love with him to begin with. And so if you're out there listening, I encourage you to make that list right now while you like him. Like I even tell people, when you first get married and you think they're so amazing, is the perfect time to make that list. Right?
Definitely.
Because there are going to be times and there are going to be days, and sometimes more than others, when you can't remember.
But there's some other things that we do that we've never done in the 33 years that we've been together.
And what's that?
Well, we never talk about the D word,
True. These are some rules we came up with for our marriage.
Divorce is not an option, you know.
We started saying, look, if divorce is an option, it will become the option. So it has to be a rule of your marriage not to talk about divorce, and everything is really figure outable, right? As Marie Forleo says, my good friend Marie Forleo, who's an amazing life coach, told us that everything is figure outable. And when divorce is an option, it will become the option. So it's important that that's not something you talk about. Now, let me preface this by saying if you are in an abusive relationship, if you are being physically, emotionally, mentally abused, this does not apply. If there are outside influences affecting your marriage, you may need to work on some of those if that's issues like drug addiction or alcohol addiction or infidelities. Those are things that you're going to have to sort out and determine if you can figure that out. But
another thing that we don't do is we don't call each other bad names.
We don't. No.
The worst name I've called her is Honey.
I might say it under my breath.
I'm sure she has.
But we learned not to really call each other bad names or cuss at each other. I will not say that has never happened. It has happened, but it seems
slip of the tongue.
The hope is that is doesn't happen as often as it should, and that the goal is not to be talking to each other that way.
We respect each other, and when you start calling people by dirty names, something like that, you don't have respect for them.
Right.
And we respect each other.
And and something to think about too is that this is supposed to be the person that you love the most on the planet. And so why would you treat them less respectfully or less kind than you would treat? Exactly. Like if you were to run into your boss or somebody, a coworker, you would never talk to them the way that many of us talk to our spouse. And it's just something you got to work on changing. It's definitely something we've worked on over the years.
Yeah. And the thing that says never go to bed mad at each other. Sometimes you're going to stay up for days if you don't go to bed mad. I've gone to bed mad at her before, but I've never not gone to bed not loving her. I mean, even when I'm mad at her, even when I don't like her,
What do you mean? You don't like me?
I still love her.
There are times, right, when all of us, we don't really like the other person that much, or, you have challenges and struggles. And so these are just some of the rules that we've created in our relationship. And our goal is to do this podcast with not only guests and friends of ours that have been able to survive long-term relationships. And some of those people are people that have been helped by the story that we just told you of the 100 Things I Love About You. And we want to be able to reach out, and we'd love to hear your feedback and your opinions and your thoughts about relationships and marriages, our relationship with the kids' mom, so that we can all work together to raise our kids, which is really the goal, to be able to work together.
Yeah. And one of the other things that puts stress on us is that we've actually worked together in the business, both, on a commission basis. So when the industry is slow, we're slow, and money seems to be the biggest problem in relationships.
One of the biggest challenges is financial pressures, right?
Financial pressure, exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll do an entire episode in the future on that and what that looks like, and how to kind of work around that, figure out some ways to get together, create budgets, talk about your finances, which is definitely a huge obstacle in a lot of relationships.
And tell us what you want to hear. We don't know it all.
Really?
We're
still figuring it out, right? And that's why we were so excited to do this podcast.
And I'm a college graduate, but it was mass communications, so I just learned to talk on the radio and television. But relationships, all I can tell you is how our relationship has gone. And we've been together for 33 years, and I still love her to death. And I think she loves me too. So,
most days, yes. Most days I do. But we really want to have some fun with this, talk about, the good, the bad, the ugly. We've figured out ways to have some fun in our relationship, and we'll talk about some fun secrets that we've learned about our anniversary, things that we do with our anniversary.
Ooh, yeah.
And some fun ways to keep love alive in your marriage. And we really are excited about this show. We have some amazing people that are going to be guests that are coming up that have been longtime friends. Sometimes they're just people that we've met that have been able to stay together as well. And in all varieties of where their relationship is, very different stages. And so that's what we're going to do.
Yeah. And we've learned by making mistakes. So that's where our knowledge comes from, is by making mistakes, and hopefully we don't make that same mistake again.
Right.
So that's what we're going to do.
So anyway, we're excited about this very first episode, and we're excited to get your feedback and hear what your thoughts are. And we're definitely excited to have some fun with Crespillo Talk. We'll probably get our kids in here at some point, let them talk, say all the wonderful things about what amazing parents we are, and a lot of fun and exciting stuff. So we're looking forward to it.
And let me know what you think of my tie. My wife picked it out.
I did not pick out that tie
Detroit.
today. Oh, I did?
Yeah, when we were in Detroit.
That's
remember
right.
I went there and forgot ties.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
I do that a lot.
And he won't always be wearing a tie. He just felt like he needed to be wearing a tie for this very first episode. What is that? You got something in your eye there?
I was winking.
Oh. All right. Well, thank you very much for joining us. Cheers to all of you. You want to get your cocktail there? Cheers to all of you.
Cheers.
And
thank you for watching our first episode, and hopefully there'll be many, many, many more. Salut.
Love you.
Love you too. Wow. I'm going to do a lot of these. We hope you have enjoyed this episode of Crespillo Talk.
Share the love. And if you love it as much as we do, please give us a 5-star review on iTunes so more people can enjoy our show. And please like and share our Instagram and Facebook pages. And we love your feedback, so please comment on our blog or send us a DM.
And if you have a great story to tell and would love to be on a future episode of Crespillo Talk, please send us a DM.
See you next time on Crespillo Talk.